Hello, everyone. You are listening to the Spiritual Sisters podcast. This is Gabrielle Celeste.
It's spooky season! Woo!
Hey.
It's Nichole. We are so excited for spooky season here. By we, I mean me.
Yeah, it's Nichole. I mean, I enjoy it, but it fall is Nichole's shit, and it's not mine.
Fall is the best. I'm convinced if somebody doesn't like fall, there's something wrong with them. I wasn't going to call them something that people might get offended at, so I won't call them that.
I mean, I enjoy once the season transitions, the in between where it starts getting cold. I'm like, oh, this is rough. So, but once it's there, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
For our YouTube listeners and watchers, viewers out there, Nichole and I are wearing the same color, not planned. And I'm like, of course you'd show up, or I'd show up, whichever way you want to look at it, wearing similar colored t-shirts.
Of course, because we're the same person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're kicking off spooky season. I'm so excited. This is my favorite time of the year. We've had spooky season planned for a while, and it's finally here. And I'm so excited because I want to talk about all things spooky and fall-like.
I was thinking I was going to tell you right before, and I was like, no, I'll just save it for recording. How I'm actually so excited to do just an episode with you because we haven't recorded in a while.
We haven't.
But also just together in a minute. So
yeah, it's been a while. I was thinking about that. Man, we haven't just done one with the two of us in a while, and we're behind, and so we need to catch up. So this will be nice and easy.
Yeah, and it's kind of for me, it's kind of my therapy. I'm like, it's like a little mini bitch session.
Yeah, so, and you get it for free.
For free.
I charge people a lot of money for
free 99.
We were talking about it before we jumped on. I don't know if you guys notice that sometimes Gabby's really quiet, it's hard to hear her. And I always notice it when I'm recording, and I was telling her, Gabby, you need to get closer to your mic, or you need to move your mic closer to you. You're so fucking loud in life. And you guys, she's tiny. She's a tiny little thing, and she is so fucking loud. And I don't know why it doesn't translate over to the show. Yeah. I'm always like, why can't I hear her? She's so loud. So anyway, I don't know if you guys have noticed that, or maybe you guys will start to notice how quiet she is. And for the people that know her in real life, you guys know what I'm talking about. She's loud.
And I don't even realize it is the thing. I'm like,
no, you're so fucking loud.
I'm so
we were always having to tell you, Gabby, you're so loud. Shut up. You're so loud.
I was just meant to be heard, I guess. I overcompensate for the lack of
mic,
apparently.
It's short woman syndrome. You can't see me, but you're gonna hear me.
Fun size, you guys.
Yeah. Anyway, so what should we do? Should we jump in? Do
you want to tell me about what's going on? We need the people need to check in. It's been a minute since we've done one.
The people need to check in. Okay. Oh, man. Well, I'm currently unemployed, so that's fun.
But we're happy about it, right? We're happy about this one.
Yeah, there was a lot of just things that are popping up that just require more time and attention. So I'm going to be unemployed for about a month, maybe. So that's been kind of nice. This has been week 1, and I've been super busy. Week 2 is next week, and I have so many things going on. And I think we're planning on kind of doing a end of year episode, just kind of wrapping up. So I won't speak too much to it right now. I'll probably save it for the end of the year and just for when I have more to speak to about it. But I've kind of mentioned before that, we're going through the process of IVF. And so a lot of what I've been doing this week has been driving about, 2 to 3 hours round trip a day for a 5-minute appointment for this IVF procedure. We're actually having it tomorrow. I'm going into minor surgery tomorrow for that. And then just all the other appointments that come with it. But, one of the things that I was telling my husband, I said, as I've been doing this and as I've been speaking to more people, I'm realizing how much more common IVF is, and people don't talk about it. And it's really unfortunate because I think it leaves a lot of women, myself included, feel very alone and feel like there's something wrong. And my husband was saying, you know, it has to be more common with people delaying having children now, right? People are more focused on getting educated and getting their careers going. Like it's so much more of a thing to put off having children that of course like IVF is going to be more common. But yeah, people just don't talk about it. So I think I've definitely had a different experience with IVF, so I really want to speak to that. So that's why I kind of want to wait until the end of the year once
Mm-hmm.
it's mostly said and done, because I think we only hear about all the negative stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that definitely kind of influenced my thought process, my feelings, just everything going into IVF. And
Mm-hmm.
and I definitely want to speak to my experience. So stay tuned for that, guys. But by the time this comes out, I will have already had the procedure. It's going to be quick and easy. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's all that's going on here.
You know,
That's
I've
all. It's a
learned.
lot, but
I mean, yeah,
I'm
it's kind of a big
unemployed.
deal.
I'm unemployed and I'm going through IVF having egg retrieval tomorrow. But you know, it just kind of feels like another day in my world. So
You know, I was telling Nichole, I was like, there is not like our schedules these days, you guys. Like it's pretty intense. Mine by my own doing. Nichole, you know, she has a mom, she's a wife, she has a lot of responsibilities, she wears a lot of hats. But I was just thinking, I'm like, just it's just so much like that is really common in your world
mm-hmm.
to have like this as another thing on your plate. But I wanted to say that like just hearing about your experience and then also seeing Brianna go through her pregnancy and how, you know, she had her experiences, I have learned so much through my siblings about just the process of pregnancy
And
in
they're so
general.
different.
And they're so different. And
Mm-hmm.
I just like, I'm kind of a man hater now, which is probably why I'm single and I struggle in that
You
space.
think?
Right. But it's like guys have it so easy. They have no idea what it's like to go
Mm-mm.
through this and what your body has to go through on a monthly
Mm-hmm.
basis. And then like, you know, when the time comes to become pregnant, if you choose to do that as a woman, it's wild.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, but other cool thing to share is super random last minute earlier this week. My husband's like, hey, you have a bunch of airline credit that you need to
Mm-hmm.
use. And I was like, what? It was like 10 o'clock at night. And yeah, I had a bunch of airline credit and I had been wanting to go see Brianna, but with me
Mm-hmm.
not working and the price of the flights, I was like, I can't justify that right now. Like,
Yeah.
I can't. So I texted her. Luckily, she was awake. And I was like, hey, I have a bunch of credits. She's like, when are you coming? And I was like,
Oh,
well, when can I? So I'm going to go see her next week.
you're literally going to the perfect place to visit
I
during the
know.
fall
I
at the
know.
perfect time.
I know. Unemployed life.
It's
Woo!
and you know what? That unemployed life, last time you had some time off from work, you weren't unemployed, but I mean, I can speak to this too. It's like the best. It's
It's the
literally not,
best.
to not have to like
Mm-hmm.
work. It's the best.
Yes. So I'm going to go see her and the baby.
Hmm.
And yeah, just lounge and come back refreshed, I hope.
Yeah, you will.
I always love going out there. It's such a lazy, loungy time. But we're going to do
Hmm.
spooky stuff because it's spooky season.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one, guys. So tune in
Yeah.
the next couple of weeks, depending on when we drop that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So, spooky season. Let's kick it off. We have, I think there's 5 Tuesdays in October. So, we
Hmm.
have 5 spooky season themed episodes going on. So, keep an ear out for those if you are a basic bitch, spooky loving person like me. And today we were going to talk about the Black Eyed Children. And Gabby, you had said you had never heard of them, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
P.S. You skipped over my check-in, just so you know.
Oh, I thought that was your. Oh, sorry. Let's go back. What's your
Oh
check-in?
no, it's too much. What's my check-in? You know what? I wanted to ask you at the beginning of actually after we go over the check-ins, but first of all, who do you think between the two of us is the most or the more sensitive cancer and the more controlling cancer?
I'm more sensitive. You're more controlling.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. And I think because September, so like in numerology, September is the pinnacle month of the year. And I'm definitely going to speak to this in the year end episode too. But September, pretty much you see all of the major themes that you've experienced throughout that respective year. And like you speaking to the fact that it was IVF, I was like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense because you were, working through that this entire year. But for me, I think I have practiced the art of surrender in the month of September. So,
Have you?
yeah, I did
Have
this
you
last
really?
week. Yeah, it took all of 28 days into the month for me to be like, bitch, chill the fuck out.
Oh
Like,
God,
you
thank
got
God, because I was wanting to tell you the same shit, bitch.
I was
Chill
like,
the fuck out,
literally, I was
but I
like,
can't because you're even though I'm the more sensitive one, you were also sensitive.
I'm so
So,
sensitive and I'm defensive. I'm
oh my God,
defensive.
you were the most
I'm
offensive
the worst in the
person
family.
ever.
Easy.
Oh,
Easy.
thank God you admitted it, Brianna. Did you hear that? She finally fucking admitted it.
Do you guys talk about this behind my back in another
I
group
don't know. Do
message?
we?
I don't
Do
know.
we?
You tell me.
Well, I don't know. It's nothing we wouldn't say to your face.
That's true. We're pretty honest in this family. At some point, maybe not immediately, but we get there. Yeah, I just realized it's like everything's gonna happen. You can get as many readings, you can trust within yourself, like whatever it is, right? It's just things are gonna happen as they're going to happen. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, yeah, thank you. I'm proud of myself, honestly. It took the majority of this year, but also I know when I get to December and my year end is Halloween, I'm gonna look back and be like, you did everything you fucking could and you gave it your all. And that's all I wanted from like myself. It didn't matter what anyone else had to say. It's just like so long as I knew I was putting my best foot forward, I was content. And I feel like because I've done that, I'm not gonna have any regrets looking back.
Yeah, I can't wait for us to do the end of the year check in because I think that'll be a really good time to speak to all of these things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we should sit down and figure that out.
So she's surrendered, you guys.
Yay!
Kind of. Yay. Okay. Black Eyed Children.
Black Eyed Children. Okay, guys. Black Eyed Children. I wonder who here has heard of them. We should do a poll.
Can I let you just like the first thing that comes to mind when you say that? Have you watched Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So do you know where they have like those little possessed blue eyed demonic children, the ice people? I don't know their
Mm-hmm.
names. That's what I think of when you say this.
Okay. Black Eyed Children are, take it for what you will. It sounds like an urban legend.
Mm-hmm.
There are some thoughts about is it not? Are they this? Are they that? So you kind of let me know what you think towards the end. Okay.
Okay.
So typically, Black Eyed Children are between the ages of like 6 to 16. So the age range can vary. The stories are said to maybe date back to the 1980s, but the first like official story that people really know of comes from the year 1996, and then all the other stories kind of came after that. So we don't know. It's not like it's something that goes back, hundreds of years. I think back to me being young and me being in school, and like Bloody Mary was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have been in like the 80s. And then that, probably came from the 60s, the 70s, or even further back. So this is more of a new type of story. So black eyed kids are said to have pale skin and black eyes, and they can be seen hitchhiking, panhandling, on the doorsteps of people's homes, standing outside of their cars, anything like that. So there's different stories that kind of circulate about the kids, but they all have a really similar pattern. And let me know if you kind of pick up on the similarities as I'm telling the story, okay?
I'm already thinking, I'm like, what if a child like that came up to the front door? I'd lose my shit. Like, it's fucked me up.
Okay, so we'll just keep listening and then let me know what you think. Okay.
Okay.
So the kids have completely black eyes and like black, like no, what is the white called? The whites of their eyes are not there. Like the iris is, it's just completely black. That's what they look like. And they can, again, like I said, show up. They can show up at your front door, at your vehicle, in front of your house, whatever the case is. And they're always going to ask to be let inside. And typically, people who have encountered them, at least in the stories, they talk about how they almost immediately feel this overwhelming sense of dread that they can't really describe. And oftentimes, this even happens before they see the eyes. There's just something about these kids that makes them feel this dread pretty automatically. And some of the other things is that their clothing is sometimes outdated or just not like maybe typical for their age. They have also been described as smelling like maybe of mold or mildew or something bad. And their speech pattern is a little bit odd, it sticks out. So I didn't hear any stories of this, but sometimes people have said that they've also reported encountering these kids with talon like feet. I didn't hear any of those in the stories, so I don't know how much of that I believe, but it was just something to note.
Are talon-like feet like webbed-like feet?
Yeah, like little talons, like,
oh my god.
Yeah, but I don't know.
So it's kind of like the brujas in Mexico, like the legit ones that like fly on the broom over the cemeteries in Mexico.
Maybe.
Yeah, because they have
well, no, I
hands.
mean this is just feet, though. No one's talking about.
No, but I'm saying like the same like arch to them.
Oh, is that what it looks like? I have a high arch, but I don't have talons.
No, but they look like claws.
Oh yeah, I don't have those. I keep my toenails short.
Yeah, that's true.
So people don't know like where they came from, how they pop up, because it's not like people see them necessarily approaching. They're just sometimes kind of like they're just kind of there, right? So there's some thoughts that maybe the black-eyed children are aliens that are trying to reach out to their planet or wherever it is that they come from, wherever it is they come from. Demonologists think that they're children of the devil and that if you let them in your home, you're letting the devil into your life and into your home.
Demonologists.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
People that study demons.
I've literally this is the difference.
You've never heard of demonologists?
No, this is the difference of people born on June 22nd. The lighter versus the darker, guys. No.
I have what is my 12th house in death, or what do I have?
It's something morbidity. With an interest in morbid. Yeah. This and the 8th house too, now that I think about it. Yeah. Ugh. Okay. Demonologists.
The kids want to come in their house. Sorry, the kids want to come into your house typically. They want to call their parents. And people say once they actually look at the kids and see their eyes, that's when they're just filled with dread. It feels sinister. It doesn't feel good. And the first story that I mentioned came about, it happened in 1996. I think it was maybe released or published in 1998. But it was written by a Texas reporter. His name was Brian Bethel. And he was an award-winning journalist. He's said to be a pretty credible person. However, he's a journalist. He writes for a living. So take that with a grain of salt, do with that information what you will. And he said that he wrote an email to some colleagues about this incident that I'm going to share. He said that the email was leaked eventually, and that's how the story came out 2 years later. So in 1996, he said he was in Abilene, Texas, and he encountered 2 black-eyed children. So he said he was sitting in his car, and it's so funny, just the description of the story, because it's so dated for the times. Mm-hmm. He was on his way to go pay his bill, and so he was sitting in his car.
Yeah.
And he was out in front of like a movie theater. And so he was using the light from the movie theater so he could see the check he was writing. Just like, it's just so dated, right? Yeah. It's like, what checks? Like you can just pay your bill now online. Anyway.
I mean, I'm not too old to remember those days. Like I remember when mom would do that, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I remember when she would write me checks for taking care of you guys every week.
Mm-hmm. You'd complain about having to wake up to drive us 2 blocks in the morning at 7 a.m. because you wanted to sleep in.
No, that was later. I didn't get paid for that. I got paid only in the summer. Yeah. No, that was part of my room and board. It was like, you want to live here? You got to take these little shits to school every day.
Pretty much.
Remember that time I made one of you guys walk? Who was it?
Was it Brianna?
Was it Brianna? Because one of you guys was acting up. And I was like, you know what? You're going to walk to school.
Mind you guys, we were like in Nichole and I are 9 years apart, so I think we were in elementary. We had to have been,
Mm-hmm.
or like junior high. Nichole was in college at this point, living her vida loca.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like part of her responsibility.
But I didn't make you guys, whoever it was, I sent you guys walking and then like we picked you up like half a block. Like we watched
When you say we, do you
whoever it
mean
was.
Eloy?
No, it was me and you and her. So it was whoever I made walk.
It was
I
probably Brianna, because Brianna was way more rambunctious than
I
I was
probably
as a
made her
child.
walk. And so
Yeah.
you and I were like watching her. And we're like, all right, let's go pick her up now. Like she walked maybe half a
Okay.
block and we saw her the whole time.
We have to get her if and when she ever comes on the podcast, you guys. She has to speak to that.
Oh yeah, let's ask her. Because I don't remember who it was. It might have been her. Anyway, so back to that. So he's sitting there, he's paying a bill, and he's approached by these two young kids. He said they were probably between the ages of 9 and 12, and they were wearing hooded sweatshirts. So he couldn't really see their faces too much. It was nighttime. They had, their hoods on. And so they knocked on the window and he cracked it a little bit to talk to them. And he said he immediately felt this unnatural sense of dread. And he described the kids. One of them was olive skin with curly hair, and one of them was redheaded, pale skin, and had freckles. And the kids asked him for a ride to their mother's home because they wanted to go see the movie Mortal Kombat, but they didn't have money. And Bethel was thinking, okay, well, that doesn't sound like too unreasonable. But he looked at the time of the showing, and the last showing of the movie had already started. So he was thinking, well, by the time I would take them to their parents' house and bring them back, like the movie would be over. It's not even worth it. And he told them that. He said, you guys, by the time I take you, like, look at the movies already started. It's not going to be, you're not going to have time. So the kids started pushing, and they started saying things like, it won't take long. We're just two little kids. Just let us in. We'll be gone before you know it. So all these kind of like creepy, not creepy, but just they got very persistent and pushy.
Yeah.
And he said that the voices sounded mechanical and rehearsed. Then he noticed their eyes. He finally got a good look at them, and he noticed that their eyes were completely black. He said he started to feel really panicked, and he was trying to figure out how to escape. One of the kids said to him, we don't have a gun or anything.
Like, even just straight up just said that. That's crazy.
And so I've heard the story several times, and I've, the commentary usually around that is people talk about the voices sounding mechanical and rehearsed. So it's almost as if we'll just say we don't have a gun. That'll make them not scared of us. But by saying it, it makes people more weary. Like, well, why would you even say that to begin with, right? It's almost as if the kids sound like they're programmed to say certain things. Well, he noticed that without even realizing it, his hand was kind of like hovering to unlock the door to let them in. And he was just staring at them. And then he realized what was happening. He broke gaze with them. And he said he almost felt as if he'd kind of broke out of like a trance or broken out of some kind of mind control. And he freaked out. So he started to try to drive away. Well, one of the kids started banging on the car door and saying, we can't come in unless you let us in. What does that sound like?
A demon.
Well, it kind of sounds like vampires too, right?
You know where my head goes when you say all of this? And I have a question for you that I'll save at the end. Remind me. My head goes to shamanic work, and even the work that you and I do with respect to energies feeding off of your being. And I feel as though, like, how would I feel removing a demonic entity from someone's being? Because that does happen. Think about it. If you engage in drugs or certain types of sex, and I feel like I've said this on the podcast, you weaken your auric field, and energies can enter into your field and live off of you. So in my mind, I'm just like, how would I, because I haven't done a demonic removal, but I'm like, how would I go about this? What would my thoughts be? And the fact that they are incarnated, I mean, this man could see them. They were straight up like coming straight to him into his car. Like
Mm-hmm.
it fucks with me. It makes me wonder how much is real.
Well, I think it's all real. I think that's the thing that people don't want to. Mm, people don't want to admit it. People don't want to think about it.
Yeah. I mean, we were there.
I've always known that these darker things are real, though,
That's
right? I
true.
mean, I have such an interest in it. And I think that was one of the things that we talked about when we were going to start this podcast was, yes, being light and love is great and everything. And that's fine and dandy. However, there is also
Yeah.
a dark side. Where there is light, there is dark. Where there is dark, there is light. You can't have one without the other.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's my
And I
thought
think
on
of
it.
Kobe Bryant when he said that in a video. I think it was for Nike promotion. He's like, you can't have light without dark. And then he was
You
pretty much
can't.
like, yeah. And he like predicted his death like 2 years before. He's like, I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm going to die young. So, anyways, didn't mean to
Oh,
cut you off.
so sad.
So
No, it's
sad.
fine. Okay, so back to the story. So he drove off, and then he said when he looked in his rearview mirror, the kids were gone,
Mm-hmm.
and he was wondering, okay, well, they couldn't have run away that fast. So where did they go? That was the first story, the first kind of major story of black-eyed children, black-eyed kids that was ever, I guess, discussed or shared. The next two, it's said that they happened after the fact. So again, that's why there's some discussion of, is this a real thing? Is this just a story? And then there are these things called creepypastas where they're like scary stories, but they're not real scary stories. So some people wonder, are these just creepypastas? Like nobody really knows when it comes to the black-eyed children. So here's another story about the black-eyed children. This one comes from Ireland. Lisburn, Ireland. And this one involves an 18-year-old female. And so she said one day she was walking home from a friend's house, and it wasn't the greatest neighborhood that she lived in. It was about like 10:30, 10:45 at night. And when she got home, she saw that there were two teenage boys that were standing in front of her yard, and they had hoodies and they had their back to her. So she immediately was a little off put just because it's late at night. It's not the greatest neighborhood. Who are these kids on my yard, right? And so she said she was feeling a little bit scared and feeling again that kind of sense of dread. And she had pepper spray in her purse, and so she remembered that she had the pepper spray, and so she had kind of put her hand in her purse just to have it nearby if she needed it. Well, when she put her hand just in her purse, the two boys turned around at the same time. And I mean, that just creeped her out also, right? Like, why are they both turning around now?
Mm-hmm.
And she said it was almost as if they could read her mind because one of the kids said, there's no need for that. Like they knew that she was reaching for pepper spray.
No.
So again, they asked if they could come in. They needed to call their mother. And that's when she noticed their eyes. So before she noticed their eyes, I think she said that she considered it like, okay, well, it's late at night. They need to call their mom. Like maybe I'll just let them use my phone. But then she noticed the black eyes. And she was terrified, so she ran towards her door. She was fumbling with her keys, and the kids like followed her. So she was able to get inside her house, and she was about to sit down when there was a knock on the door. Hi, babe. And there was a knock on the door. And so she said she looked out the peephole, and they were standing there. And again, they were asking if they could come in. We need to call our mom. And she opened the door and was like, no, you guys need to leave. Like, I'm not going to let you in my house. And they kept asking to come in, right? Being very like persistent, very pushy. I'm surprised she even opened the door and that they didn't come in. But I guess if it's similar to a vampire, right? They can't come in unless you invite them
Yeah.
in. But that was pretty ballsy to open the door.
Yeah.
She called her friend. Her friend came over. And when she did, the kids were gone and they left. So that was just kind of another quick little story about them.
That's so, yeah. It makes me, I don't know why my brain just went here, but do you remember in like the 90s, like the like late 90s where like child abductions would be a thing and people would ballsily just like go inside the house and like steal kids?
No.
Like, you don't remember that?
No.
It's like a whole thing. Yeah.
That's scary.
Right. And I'm just like, don't put that past it. Just, I don't know. My brain just went there, but it's scary that people did that, and I'm sure still do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember that being a thing. Well, maybe it wasn't a thing. I remember being terrified in the 80s whenever my mom would watch Unsolved Mysteries, that somebody was going to climb in my bedroom window and take me.
Like serial killer status? Or
Just
like
a
just child
kidnapper.
abduction?
Yeah, just like child
Kidnappers, yeah.
abduction. Yeah.
Well, like, yeah, child abduction was like really highlighted in the 80s, like the 90s. I wasn't around for the 80s, but
Yeah, it was really big in the 80s. So maybe that's why I stopped paying attention to it in the 90s, because by then I was like a teenager and like,
yeah.
I mean, who was going to want a teenager? I think they want the little kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so a third story is coming out of Vermont. And so we don't have a location like we did with the last two. It just says like middle of nowhere, Vermont. So again, take it how you will. And there was an elderly couple, and they heard the sound of 3 knocks one night at their door. And they opened the door, and there were 2 little kids standing on their doorstep, a boy and a girl. One of the kids said, "Parents will be here soon. May we come in?" And the kids didn't make eye contact with them, and they just stood in the doorway. And the couple was a little hesitant to let them in, but they let them in. The kids sat down on the couch, and the kids, excuse me. The kids sat down on the couch, and the wife made some hot chocolate for them, and the husband was asking them questions, but the kids weren't answering. So that's a little awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Awkward. And the wife returned and noticed that her cat was scared and angry with the kids. So she was like, "Okay, what's going on?" Then the kids asked, "May we please use the restroom?" And the wife looked at the kids, and she finally noticed the eyes. The eyes were black as can be. She told them where the restroom was, and then she talked to her husband, and he was covering his face like this. And she asked him, "Did you see their eyes?" And then he showed her his hands, and his hands were like full of blood, like he had a nosebleed, like his nose was bleeding. You get nosebleeds all, or you guys used to get nosebleeds all the time.
I haven't had them in like, well, now you said that, watch me get one. Yeah, I used to get them all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was you, huh? And Brianna sometimes too, but you used to get them a lot.
And I've never done cocaine in my life, guys.
I mean, you were like 9, so I don't think you were doing cocaine
No, but
at
even
9
into
years
my like my adult life, my adult years.
It's overrated.
Okay.
So the husband has all this blood on his hands, and then the power goes out in the house, and it's like pitch black. The wife goes to the restroom and to see, what's going on. What?
No, I'm like, fuck this. No. Like, what is this? This
And
is like, no.
No, what?
No, I'm like, I reject and I rebuke all negative energy.
Well, don't let them in.
No.
That's why we light our candles at the beginning of this.
Mm-hmm. We do a container at the beginning of
It's
every
spooky
episode,
season.
guys.
I'm glad you're spooked. Good. This is what the fall is for.
True.
October. Okay. And so anyway, so the wife goes to the restroom, and the kids say, "Our parents are here." The kids walk out of the door, and the kids walk out of the house, and they left the door open, and the wife noticed that there were 2 men at the end of the driveway. The men were very tall, they were slender, and the wife waved at them, but they didn't wave back. The kids got in the car and drove off with the 2 men. What does that sound like?
Men in Black.
Men in Black.
Yeah.
So the Men in Black is also associated with the stories of black-eyed children, because
like the movie, or just
in general.
Like okay.
Yeah, we have to do an episode on the Men in Black at some point.
You know what I think of and we've talked about this on another episode about the angels, where they dress up in suits, like they're tall, like arching humans. Mm-hmm. And the demons and the angels on planet Earth, they meet up and they like show each other respect, but they show up in like suits because they have a respect for one another, because they know in seconds they could take either. Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you think back to the beginning of this, where I said some people think that they are aliens.
I could see that.
So the fact that these, men in suits, or these men in Did it even say that they were suits? No, just tall, slender men.
In
But
black?
no.
Hmm.
But maybe. You know what? We're going to start that rumor. Yes.
Okay.
They were wearing black suits.
Mm-hmm.
You guys heard it here first. And eventually the power came back on a little bit after the kids left. And then throughout the week, just these weird things started happening around the house. They said 3 out of their 4 cats went missing. The 4th cat, trigger warning, was found dead in a pool of its own blood. So, not sure what happened with that cat. And then the husband kept having nosebleeds, and he went to the doctor and he was diagnosed with like an aggressive form of skin cancer. So that's the third story that I got
Oh my
about the black-eyed
gosh.
children. Hold on, let me see. Okay. Did it come back on? Okay. So let's see. The story of the children, the first one that initially started, right, it took place here in the United States. This other one that I just mentioned was in Vermont. The second one that I shared happened in Ireland. So eventually the story started to travel, right? It wasn't just only happening in the United States. And apparently one of the stories is that in the UK in 2014, one of the newspapers wrote 3 front page stories talking about sightings of the black-eyed children in a haunted pub in Staffordshire. So I don't know the details of those stories, but apparently more stories started being published in the UK during that time. And ghost hunters believe that the kids, well, not all ghost hunters, but some ghost hunters believe that the kids are ETs, maybe vampires, right? The whole like we can't come in unless you invite us, or ghosts. And so they take the sightings really seriously. Lately, or I guess just more recently, people still claim to see the kids maybe when they're driving late at night down an empty road or outside their windows late at night. Some people have even said that they see kids, the black-eyed kids, standing in the corners of their room during episodes of like sleep paralysis,
Mm-hmm.
or just feeling like they're being watched by the kids. What are your thoughts?
I recall. So I think the sleep paralysis thing is real for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I recall one of our siblings saying that when she had experienced that back in her like early teenage years, she saw like the cowboy that apparently is really common to like you see. And our brother-in-law said that too, that he used to see like the cowboy in the corner of the room. And
Mm.
this one in particular said to her that like your parents can't hear you, no one's coming for you.
Ugh.
So it's like shit like that I know is real because they're not the type to ever make that up. And like
Mm-hmm.
this world is real, you guys. So I'm like, oh my god, like, but how does one even draw that energy towards them, you know, like how my brain just goes in so many different directions. But I mean, I believe it. Sleep paralysis scares the shit out of me. I've
Mm-hmm.
had it a couple of times, and you can't move and you feel like you can't breathe, and it's
Yeah.
awful.
I've had it like once or twice, maybe like 2
Mm-mm.
times. So, in contrast to the black-eyed children, or maybe not in contrast, but then we have the white-eyed children. And this will just be real quick. There's not a whole lot of information that I could find on them. But some people believe that the white-eyed children are the true masters of the black-eyed children.
Hmm.
So, kind of similar with any stories of encounters, they're known to knock on doors, to knock on car windows. If you remember back to the stories of the black-eyed children, they typically travel in pairs. So, there's always at least 2 of them. But the white-eyed children are more autonomous and
Mm.
they kind of are just showing up by themselves. They rarely interact with victims or people in groups of more than one. So it's usually just them. And they're typically seen in isolated areas like woods or campgrounds. One of the differences, though, from the black-eyed No. One of the differences from the white-eyed children to the black-eyed children is that they don't need permission to get inside of the home or to get inside of the vehicle. It's said that instead they just kind of appear inside of the home. They just appear
Nope.
inside of the vehicle
Nope.
without any emotion. They're just there and you don't know what's going on. It's said that they're also really powerful at using telepathy and using mind control to communicate. So if we think back to that first story, he said, I don't know why, but all of a sudden I just noticed that my hand was hovering to unlock the door as if I was being mind controlled. So similarly, white-eyed children are also said to be really powerful at doing that. And witnesses often report not feeling anything odd with the conversation with the white-eyed children until they vanish or until they see their eyes. With the black-eyed children, people typically say they feel a lot of dread initially, right? Even before they see their eyes, they're already thinking, something's not right. They smell a little funny. They're speaking a little funny. Something's not right here. And some people say that after they've had an encounter with the white-eyed children, that they see them kind of staring at them for days, even weeks after the initial encounter. And sometimes they'll find handprints on their car windows, kind of implicating that maybe they're being followed. I have a child and there are just handprints on my windows all the time. So I don't think I would know the difference. I would just think it was him. But I didn't find any stories about encounters with white-eyed children, but that's just kind of some of the similarities and some of the differences between them and black-eyed children.
What do you think about telepathy? I know, kind of veering off, but like, what are your thoughts? Because didn't you experience something like that in Vegas at the show you guys went to?
Oh, that show was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I'll get back to that right now, real quick.
Okay.
So the last thing about white-eyed children is that some people say that maybe they're messengers of death because sometimes they appear prior to the death of someone the victim or the witness knows, which is they sometimes take it as like they're there to like warn somebody of a death of like a loved one or somebody.
Yeah.
Telepathy. Yeah, that was crazy. So we went to this show, guys. If you guys are ever in Vegas, what was it called? Oh shit, I forgot what it was called. Let me look it up real quick.
Can I tell you a story about telepathy?
Yeah.
So it's one of those modalities that falls into psychic work, right? And if you've practiced it, I think you have to be really solid in your skill set, which I know because I know someone that does this work and is very much an expert in her field. And she was able to, through telepathy, bend a spoon. And I saw it. And I was like, oh, fuck. How do you
There it
do
is.
that?
Someone was able to bend a spoon?
Through telepathy.
That's crazy.
It's crazy shit.
The show is called Paranormal Las Vegas. It is by this man, Frederick Da Silva. He's a mentalist / mind reader. You guys, this is the craziest show I have ever been to. And it was super cheap. I'm surprised that it's such a small show. It was at the Horseshoe, which is the Old Bally's, in a little theater. And it was,
No, I'll finish your thought. I have a thought about Vegas hotels.
It was so good. So at the end of the show, you can go and meet him or take a picture with him. We got a picture with him. And he does like a trick for everybody when you're in line. So as you guys know, as you've heard, my husband is the biggest skeptic in the world, right? He's a very logical man. And we're standing in line to take pictures, and he is asking people, okay, think of a number between 1 to 100. And I'm gonna write down that number that you were thinking. And so I was like, okay, this is good. Like, my husband's gonna do it. And so we get up there and he's like, oh, how'd you guys like the show? We're like, oh, it was amazing. It was so good. And then he said, okay, like, who needs the proof or something? And I was like, he does. And he's like, all right, what number are you thinking of?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just watching the interaction. And my husband's thinking of a number. And then the guy is looking at him and he's kind of laughing. Like he knows what's going on in his mind and he's laughing. He's like, oh, okay. And he writes down the number and it was the fucking number that my husband was thinking of. It was like some
Mm-hmm.
random ass number, like 65 or I don't even fucking know.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you see?
Mm-hmm.
You see, it's
Mm-hmm.
real.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was crazy. We're going to go back in December for my husband's birthday. And I would love to go back to that show because it's so affordable. It's so good. It's
Mm-hmm.
so good. It's very interactive. He pulls people in from the audience. And there's so many people that there's no way.
Yeah.
Well, there's not so many people. So let's just say there's 100 people in the audience. If that, it's not a lot of people. And maybe half of them are somehow included in there. So you're going to pay 50 people. You're going to plant 50 people in your audience just to entertain another 50. Like the numbers don't add up when you think about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so good. I
Mm-hmm.
highly recommend it. Paranormal Las Vegas.
At Bally's, you said?
Now it's Horseshoe. Yeah, it's the old Bally's.
You know, I was thinking one of the topics we'll have to hit at some point. All of the haunted hotels in Vegas and all the
The
shit that
Luxor.
happens. Yeah, all the shit that happens on the back end that no one talks about. Like
I just
the
don't know how we're
fucking
going to find that information. Vegas is really good at making
yeah,
sure people don't know those things.
it's crazy. It's so haunted,
If
and I know that because of
anybody
you.
if anybody is a Vegas insider, hit us up. We would love to know
Mm-hmm.
all the things.
All the things
So anyway, that's the story of the Black Eyed Children. What were you going to ask though?
about the black-eyed children.
You said remind me at the end.
I know, I fucking forgot. It's been
I knew
happening.
you were going to do that.
You know what has been happening lately? I'm gonna blame it on Trickster, as our friend, the ruler of the records, would say. It's like, and this happened when I was getting my Reiki attunements, where I had a message for you, and I shit you not, Nichole, like 10 minutes. My master could not, my Reiki master, could not relay the message, and she was like, it was like something was preventing me from like asking and like getting that message relayed to you, which is so wild. And that's kind
Yeah.
of what I feel like I've been having throughout this whole episode. Not gonna lie.
Interesting.
Black-eyed children energy, which is rebuked.
Yeah, we don't want or white-eyed children. We don't want any
Or
of them.
whiteout. No.
We just want cute little normal-eyed children here. That's all I got for Black-eyed children to kick off spooky season.
Hey.
Let us know what you guys think.
I learned something.
So,
new
okay,
today.
my question is, what do you think they are?
Oh god, demons,
You think
demonic
they're demons? You don't think they're
aliens,
ETs?
bad aliens. Yeah, I think they're bad aliens.
Oh.
You know, oh, and that was another thing. It's like, and that's where I was headed with the whole like, is this stuff real? Is it not? Like, we know it's real, right? But I
Mhm.
think for me, it's like, okay, is this person next to me, like, who really is a human? Like, who is an alien? Like, that's how far my brain goes in my mind these days, which means I'm not grounded and I need to come back to my human self and be in my body, which is not the case most of the time.
That's the goal for October.
Here we go.
Okay. Well, that's all we got for today for spooky season. You guys, please, please, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Thank you to those of you who have already done that. And to those of you that have not, what the fuck are you waiting for? Like, do you like us or not? How
You're
hard
here. You
is
made
that?
it to the end.
How hard is that?
Please.
Anyway, but yeah, totally kidding. But not
Are
really.
you? Not really.
No.
No.
Rate and review us, guys. We would really appreciate it. It does a lot. Apparently, that's what they say. So if you would be so kind as to spend a minute, you guys, doesn't even have to be anything crazy. You can write 1 minute. You can write one sentence. I love these girls. I hate these girls. I hope
We'll
you don't
take them
hate
all.
us.
Well, I
Oh,
mean,
you know what? We'll take anything at this point.
yeah, we just appreciate it. So we're grateful. And we see them all. We see them all. We're on it.
One sentence is all we need. And if you do leave us a rating and review, and if you can send us a screenshot of your rate and review, slide into the DMs on Instagram or slide into our emails, then we'll give you something. We don't know what it is yet, but we'll give you
It's
something.
always a fun surprise. And some people have done it. So they're always pleasantly surprised.
And I just want to say thank you to the people that have slid into our DMs. We've gotten some
Mm-hmm.
random messages from people just saying that they enjoy us. We got a random email from a male saying how much he enjoyed listening to us. It reminded him of his own sister and that relationship. So that was really cool because we know that we probably speak more to women. So it's always
Yeah.
nice when we hear good words from a man.
Mm-hmm.
We got a really, really nice email from a nice woman here in the States that shared a quick story with us. And so we loved that. We love getting messages from you guys. So keep them coming. And I'm not working right now, so I have time to respond.
Yeah, that's true.
keep me busy. This housewife life, it's just trying to keep myself busy all day, every day.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it, guys. Stay tuned for more spooky season stories and don't let the black eyed children in your car, in your house, anywhere.
Yeah.
All right.
Until next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.